So picture this. You're on the digital marketing team and the email hits your inbox. Leadership says, it's time to choose our agency partner.
And now the pressure's on. Do you stick with who you've got or go find someone new? In today's deep dive, we're breaking down how to navigate that tricky moment and make a choice you won't regret.
Stay tuned because the decision could shape your brand and your career.
Welcome to Trivera's AI Deep Dive podcast, hosted by Chip and Nova, our AI co-hosts. Together, they transform top marketing insights from our blogs, articles, and events into actionable strategies you can use. Ready to dive in? Let's get started.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm Chip.
And I'm Nova. Today, we're tackling something a lot of companies eventually run into, that big decision to switch digital marketing agencies. It's definitely a crossroads, and it can feel, pretty daunting. But if you approach it the right way, with the right questions, it can genuinely propel your brand forward.
Absolutely. And we've got some fantastic insights for you today, pulled from a recent article by our very own founder here at Trivera, Tom Snyder.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
It's called Tasked with Switching Agencies, How to Make the Right Call for Your Brand and Your Career. And it is packed, really packed, with practical advice to help you avoid those super common, often expensive pitfalls.
So let's unpack this a bit. You might be, say, a new leader wanting to make an impact, right? Or maybe you're kicking off some big new project, or perhaps it's just, your company's regular cycle to shake things up with vendors.
Right.
The article points out something crucial right away. Even agencies hitting it out of the park, delivering stellar results, can suddenly find themselves under the microscope.
It's true.
Yeah.
And while change can be good, a real catalyst when it's done for the right reasons, Tom warns us that, way too often, these big decisions are driven by stuff that's harder to pin down. Things like perception or internal politics.
Oh, definitely politics.
Or maybe those really dazzling promises that sound just incredible in a pitch meeting, but, just don't actually happen in the real world.
And the actual cost of getting it wrong, it's way more than just the money spent. It's lost time, it's lost trust, and it's a huge drain on the momentum you've worked so hard to build.
Exactly.
And sadly, as our founder points out, often nobody involved wants to admit the choice was, the wrong one.
No, that's awkward.
Right. So the company kind of carries the burden quietly, which makes your role, if you're listening, absolutely pivotal here. You can be the one to steer this with, foresight.
So let's get into the why then. Why do companies even start looking around for a new agency? Tom's article lays out some really familiar triggers that kick this whole thing off.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, Chip, is how often these triggers aren't really about total failure. It's more about shifts, Internal dynamics, external pressures, like the first one, new leadership.
Oh, the classic.
Totally. A new CEO or CMO steps in, wants to make their mark, wants a clean slate. It's a standard corporate playbook move, often driven by wanting a fresh look, even if the current agency is doing fine.
Absolutely, Nova. That whole fresh start idea can be super powerful. Then you often see budget reviews popping up as a trigger.
Budget time.
Yeah, when belts get tightened or, strategies shift, every single line item gets looked at. And agencies, being a significant vendor, are naturally part of that review. Sometimes it's less about performance, more about optimizing the spreadsheet.
And don't forget board pressure either. Boards are, always pushing faster growth, more innovation, just fresh thinking.
Right.
And that pressure can cascade down, forcing a review of external partners, even if the current ones are actually hitting their targets. It's all about responding to those top-level strategic demands.
Another big one is major initiatives, right? Like a huge product launch, maybe expanding into a new market or a big brand overhaul.
Yeah, something big.
That might make the company feel like, maybe our current agency doesn't have the specific skills or maybe the scale for this massive project.
Yeah.
They think they need new blood, basically.
And then finally, for some companies, it's just routine, standard operating procedure.
Really? Just because?
They have a cycle, review and maybe switch agencies every few years, almost no matter how well they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just baked into how they manage vendors.
Wow. Okay, so these triggers, they sound kind of reasonable on the surface, don't they?
They do.
But this is exactly where Tom's article flags the danger zone. What happens next is so critical.
This is precisely when the risk starts creeping in. Because, as Tom highlights, no matter how brilliantly your current agency has performed, any competing agency that comes knocking will always find a way to point out perceived gaps, maybe question past results, and, of course,
Promise the moon.
Exactly. Promise to do better, often with some, groundbreaking new approach. That's just how the pitch game works.
And what I find really interesting there is how easily we can get swayed, right, by a really compelling story, even if the actual data on the current agency tells a different, maybe better story.
Totally.
The challenge, like the article says, is not falling for a slick sell job that kind of twists the current agency's work and just wildly overpromises what's really possible. Those promises feel so good in the moment, don't they? It's like buying a car just because you love the color.
Right. Looks great now.
But you haven't even looked under the hood yet.
That's such a good analogy, Chip. And it's not just the buyer's remorse later. It's the massive disruption to the organization, the lost opportunities. That's what really hurts.
Yeah.
You suddenly realize you traded something proven, even if it wasn't perfect, for, well, empty promises and a really steep new learning curve for everyone.
Oh,
and this brings up a super important question Tom wants us to ask ourselves. Sometimes what you really need isn't a new agency at all.
what then?
It might just be a bigger budget, or maybe a smarter budget for the agency that already gets your brand, knows your market, understands your goals inside and out.
Yeah.
Often results that felt, were actually because the resources just didn't match the ambition level.
That makes a lot of sense. So what this really means is often what's needed is a much clearer, maybe more honest conversation about aligning the investment with the expectation.
Exactly.
Not just swapping partners and going back to square one. And you, the person guiding this whole evaluation, you're in a really powerful spot to shape that conversation, make sure the resources actually fit the goals, and maybe avoid all that unnecessary disruption.
Right. So, okay, let's jump ahead a bit. Let's say management has decided, yep, time to explore options. Maybe you're leading the review, or you're on the internal team that has to actually make the new plan work.
The implementation team?
Yeah, this moment right here, this is going to shape the next big chapter for your brand. Get it right, you drive forward with real momentum. Get it wrong.
Well, you could spend the next year just trying to justify a decision that looked good on paper, but totally flopped in reality.
Yeah, nobody wants that. That's precisely why it's so critical to just slow down, ask the right questions before you even think about drafting that request for proposal, that RFP.
Right. Be proactive, strategic.
Not just reacting to whatever shiny new pitch comes along.
Exactly. So let's connect this to the bigger picture and really dig into those crucial pre-RFP questions Tom outlines in the article. The first one.
Okay.
What's truly driving this potential change? Is it genuinely about performance issues that you can point to? Or is it more about perception? Maybe just wanting something new and different? Or, dare I say, internal politics?
Oof. Yeah, that requires some real honesty, doesn't it?
It does. It's about peeling back those layers, maybe layers of corporate story or even leadership ego, to find the actual problem you're trying to solve. That's a huge foundational question. Often skipped over, I bet. So once you've wrestled with that one, what's the next critical piece Tom wants us to look at, especially around managing expectations?
Well, it flows right into question 2. Are we expecting outcomes that our budget just hasn't reasonably supported up till now?
The budget reality check.
Totally. This is a massive, often just ignored issue. Companies have these huge ambitions for digital marketing, but the resources they allocate, well, they just don't match up. It sets everyone up for disappointment right from the start. It's like an internal audit of your own financial commitment.
Right. You can't expect, 5-star results on a 2-star budget. It doesn't work. And then there's how we even define success.
Exactly. Question 3 forces us to confront that. Are we defining success mostly by price? Or are we looking at long-term value and real strategic impact? A seemingly cheaper option right now might look tempting, but it can cost you way more down the road if it doesn't deliver actual growth and business results. That low bid lure is powerful, but it can distract from the real value.
And finally, there's a really direct, almost challenging question that puts the focus back on your current situation, right?
Yeah. Question 4. What would it really take for our current agency to deliver the results we actually want? And maybe more importantly, have we genuinely given them that opportunity? Sometimes all it takes is a clearer conversation, maybe reframing the goals, and crucially, giving them the proper resources to unlock the potential that's already there in that relationship. It's about giving a proven partner a fair shot before just jumping ship.
Okay, let's unpack this even more. So let's say you do get past those big pre-RFP questions and the proposals start rolling in. Tom's article gives us a really clear practical framework for comparing them.
Yeah.
So you, our listener, you need to look way beyond just the slick slides, right? Compare based on real stuff. First up, strategic alignment. Does their proposed strategy actually line up with your specific, nuanced business goals?
Not just some generic template pitch.
Exactly. Something that shows they get your unique challenges, your opportunities.
And it's not just about what they say they'll do. It's about what they've done. You absolutely have to look for proven outcomes, Chip.
Proof points.
Yes. Do they have relevant experience? Sure. But more importantly, do they have demonstrable results in situations that are really similar to yours? Past success in comparable scenarios? That's a powerful indicator. It cuts down the guesswork.
Totally agree, Nova.
Okay.
Then there's accountability in reporting. Is it crystal clear how they'll be held accountable and how they'll report progress in a way that actually matters to your business?
Yeah, none of those vanity metrics.
Right. This is huge for transparency, making sure you can objectively see their impact. And related to that, a relentless focus on ROI. Are they obsessed with return on investment? Or are they just talking about surface-level stuff that doesn't really translate to business growth, to profit?
It's about making sure every dollar you spend actually leads somewhere measurable.
And then, a factor that's maybe underestimated sometimes, collaboration.
Oh, hugely important.
Are they genuinely willing to work closely, like respectfully, with your internal team? A really good agency becomes almost an extension of your marketing department, right?
Yeah, they integrate. They don't just operate in a silo.
You should boost your internal team, not just replace them.
Exactly.
And yeah, of course, cost is always going to be a factor. We know that. But it has to be considered as part of the overall value picture, not the whole story.
Right.
Like Tom puts it so well, it's not about finding the cheapest quote out there. It's about getting the right value for your investment, thinking long-term about what you actually gain for what you pay.
Which brings us to a really critical point Tom makes, and it's specifically a word to the marketing team. If you're an internal marketing professional, this whole agency review thing, it could be the toughest part of your job. How you deal with it will affect not only your company's future, but yours as well.
And after we take a short break, we'll be back with the insights and guidance to help you make the right call.
Hi, I'm Webster, Trivera's AI assistant, here to help your business thrive in the ever-evolving digital marketing landscape. Since 1996, Trivera has delivered digital marketing that drives measurable results, partnering with southeastern Wisconsin's strongest brands, blending creativity, technology, and strategy to help them grow. Now, we're leading the charge with powerful new AI solutions, branded podcast production, fully trained chatbots, predictive analytics, automated content generation, and optimization tools that become your digital dream team, engaging audiences, capturing leads, optimizing campaigns, and delivering 24/7 support. From SEO-optimized websites and ROI-focused campaigns to custom AI tools built for real business impact, Trivera is the partner you can trust to help you own what's next. Visit Trivera.com today to make the rest of 2025 your smartest, most successful yet. Trivera, where 3 decades of expertise meet AI innovation to deliver digital marketing that converts.
Welcome back to Trivera's AI Deep Dive. Now back to our conversation with Chip and Nova.
Okay, we're back. Before the break, we talked about being a part of a marketing team, being tasked with potentially switching digital agency partners.
Yeah, the boots on the ground.
You might not have even asked for this change, but you're going to be the one living with it, implementing the new plans, carrying the weight, no matter who actually signed off on the decision.
And here's a tough truth, kind of the unspoken part that our founder points out. If that shiny new agency doesn't deliver on all those big promises, it's really unlikely the person who made the final call will publicly say, "Oops, my bad." More often, it's the internal marketing team that takes the heat for failing to execute, maybe for resisting the change or not supporting the new partner enough.
It's awful, but it happens.
Yeah, and this raises a really uncomfortable question. Sometimes it's seen as easier to replace you, the internal person, than to admit the agency choice itself was just wrong. That's a pretty stark reality for a lot of marketing pros.
That's precisely why, for you, the internal marketing professional listening, it's so incredibly important to be proactive. Take steps. First, get a seat at the table.
Be in the room where it happens.
Exactly. Make sure you're actively part of that decision process. Your depth knowledge of the brand, the market, the current agency's real day-to-day work, it's absolutely invaluable. Don't let it get overlooked.
Good advice.
Yeah.
What else?
Second, document everything. Keep notes. Document your input any concerns you raise, the reasoning behind your recommendations. It creates a paper trail, provides crucial context if things go sideways later.
CYA, basically, cover your assets.
Yeah, but also just good practice. And speaking up is vital, Chip. You need to speak up about the budget. Help leadership understand where maybe past budget limits genuinely held back the current results. It gives vital context for why performance might not be hitting those sky-high targets. It shifts the focus from blame to perhaps actual resource needs.
Right, reframing it.
And finally, help everyone focus on the facts. Ground the decision in solid strategy, objective data, not just who gives the slickest, most charming pitch. Build the decision on reality, not just shiny projections.
That makes sense. It's about guiding the process towards substance.
Totally. And, connecting this to the bigger picture, Tom and our team here at Trivera, they've seen this whole cycle play out from every possible angle over, 30 years now?
Long time.
Yeah. He shares stories, clients who replaced them because some new agency promised the universe. Or a new CEO brought in their old agency just to mark their territory, only to quietly come back a few months later asking for help fixing what went wrong. It's a pattern he's seen again and again. Painful, but real.
But on the flip side, Nova, he's also seen clients stick with the same agency and the decision makers who hired them originally.
Yes.
Sticking with them through leadership changes, market upheavals, reorganizations, tough vendor reviews.
Exactly. Why? Because those leaders got it. They understood what happens when you make thoughtful, value-based decisions grounded in data and proven partnership instead of just chasing the next shiny new thing that walks in the door.
And what's really fascinating there, something the source material really emphasizes, is that the best agency partnerships aren't measured in quarters.
No, they're measured in years, sometimes 10, 15, 20, even 25 years.
Incredible.
Exactly. These are the relationships built on consistent value, deep mutual understanding, shared growth. Not just that initial dazzling pitch or the rock bottom price. Leaders who cultivate these long-term partnerships, they recognize the huge cumulative value of all that institutional knowledge, that seamless collaboration, that track record of adapting and delivering together.
So what does this all boil down to for you, our listener? Whether you're the one leave the review or you're part of the team impacted by it.
Well, choosing the right agency isn't really about finding the flashiest presentation or the most charismatic sales pitch or even just the cheapest quote. As Tom wraps up in his article, it's about finding the right partner with the right plan and then critically backing that plan with the right budget to actually deliver what your brand genuinely needs to succeed.
Which leaves us with a really important question for you to think about. How can you make sure that every agency decision you're involved in is one you won't have to kind of awkwardly explain away a year from now, but instead one you'll proudly stand by, maybe even champion, for years to come?
If you happen to be at that crossroads right now, Trivera can definitely help.
Yeah, whether you're maybe considering Trivera as a potential new agency or perhaps looking to keep us on board as your current partner through a review, we'll work right alongside you. We'll help assess your performance, look at your ROI, figure out what it's really going to take to move forward with confidence.
No empty promises from us, just clarity, solid strategy, and a plan that actually works. You can learn more over at Trivera.com.
Okay, that wraps up another deep dive. I'm Chip.
And I'm Nova, and we really hope this discussion helps you make the right call for your brand and, frankly, for your career, too.
Until next time, keep learning and keep asking those really tough but really important questions.
And keep listening to the deep dive for the answers that will propel you to success.
Thanks for joining us on Trivera's AI Deep Dive with Chip and Nova. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more and stay up to date with new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, or find them on our website and our social media channels. And don't forget to visit us at Trivera.com to learn how we can help take your marketing to the next level. Ready to talk? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.